I'd love to be able to be omnipresent for the consumer so that they can, experience the brand on many different levels.
Last December, J&J partnered with the Beauty Crop to bring their brand to life in a whole new way, their first ever pop-up store. Now, several weeks later, we sit down with Ning, founder of the Beauty Crop, to reflect on the experience and what it was like to connect with their community in person for the first time. We also spoke about how the pop-up shop inspired them to pursue further offline retail events.
It was a really good experience. It's definitely given us a lot of food for thought in terms of activations for 2025. In fact, we have one planned already in February, where we're going to pop up again somewhere central in London and perhaps, other parts of the country. So yeah, it was a really good experience. We already planned to do something, but we sort of solidified it after the pop-up around some of the lessons learned, and also how we want to have the event, whether we would do a point of sale or just have it as a pure marketing play. So I think in terms of like lessons learned, we learned that our community really loves like games. So like spin to win. So something where they can also feel like they're, being entertained or getting involved. The other thing is that we think our community also likes like masterclasses where they can come in and take something away, whether it's tips from, Pro MUA. So I think what the key takeaways is that people are looking for something experiential. So not just a pure retail, shop experience, but something beyond that. Everyone's on social media. They want to, take something away as an experience and show their friends, oh, look what I did. I think, the mentality and of even merchandising products is very different online versus retail, like physical retail. So what we experienced was that if you merchandise, your products in certain categories where it was easier for the consumer to look at a product at eyeball level, that product has had a high propensity of, selling. But then also it meant, making sure that there are samples that are placed out. We found that we had not placed all shades of our concealers as samples. And we found that, from the data, people were just basically purchasing what they found as samples. And then the other thing was that I suppose we found that, our products that are really popular online, which are like our primer and setting mist, didn't resonate as much during the pop-up. And people when they came to our physical retail, they wanted to look at color and textures, and that we found that products like those really resonated. And also we launched a fragrance. We found that the fragrance did particularly well because I suppose it's sensorial and it's like you can experience it. So yeah, really interesting to see which products resonated during that physical retail. And it's really good to know going into 2025 and beyond in terms of new product development, along with, how we can incorporate that experience side so that if we were to launch, let's say, foundation or concealer, we will definitely have another physical pop-up. One thing that we took away from the pop-up was that the community from other parts of the UK wanted us to be, in their region. So that's something we're taking away as well. We're looking to pop up in different areas of the UK. So hopefully gives a bit more, more bang for your buck. I would say it was really helpful for us to get the opportunity for 1 week during peak trading in December, somewhere central, like in London. The other positive was that, J&J helped us, bring all our stock because number one, we are a consumer retail business and we have a lot of SKUs and a lot of stock. So, being able to not have to think about, the logistic portion of how our SKUs are going to get there, how products going to get there. An offline experiential experience is really important because it's sort of, another form of telling the community or telling people who have never met your or never seen your brand that, we are here. But at the same time, I think consumers are so saturated with advertising online and they're so saturated with messages on, buy this, buy that. They're actually looking for a genuine connection with a brand. So I think that brands that, number one, are able to build a community, be able to serve the customer something beyond just, buy this, buy that, but a genuine connection, whether it's the service that they get or advice on products, but also something for them to take away, for them to post on social media. And I think, post-COVID, people are wanting to go out and I think, rather than going to like a nightclub or whatever, they're looking to, be able to post and tell their friends of this cool experience that they've had. And even in like social media these days, like the brands that are doing really well is where, either the founder or the employees are able to show behind the scenes of what's going on or bring a funny angle and not just sell. Obviously being able to meet, people within the pop-up it's so eye-opening because sometimes you don't realize, we do have customers, but some of our customers are like proper fans. And then they're super fans and they know everything about the brand. And I feel like then there's the flip side of it where, there are people who came to the pop-up who have never heard of the brand, but they have given us feedback on like, I wish you had more colors available, or if we had certain SKUs that have sold out, taking some of their feedback into consideration, because I think as a color cosmetics brand, it's so visual and we're so color driven that it's really good to see like, actually, you can see based on the skin tone that, we have a gap in terms of what we're catering to a customer. So that's like real-time feedback. And then secondary from that is also feedback, post the pop-up experience where a customer might say, it might be complimentary to the team and how they were being catered to, or it could be something that we could have done better at, which is, I don't know, better advice, for instance. So I think in general, I really enjoyed that real-time feedback. I think because we're not like a fashion brand whereby if a person tries on a dress and, it's like, I wish they had pockets or something like that. We're color driven. So some of the feedback that we've gotten are quite different from what we see online. So maybe online we will only get feedback because something is faulty, whereas in the pop-up, that feedback was around textures or colors. So yeah, really helpful. And I also feel that a lot of people that came to the store, they wanted to make a connection with the brand. So they were trying to talk about what they liked or what they didn't. So it was really nice to see that, they were trying to communicate with the brand. So rather than, it's not just reviews or feedback, but it's like, the actual connection. So which is really positive. I guess number one, I'm super proud, but I guess we're doing something right. And it sort of just fuels that desire to just want to continue to improve, continue to, double down on what we're doing right. But at the same time, I think, it's so nice to see that, like the super fans that come in, they know you personally too. So and they've like searched you either on Google or on social, and they know people within the team. So that's really interesting. And again, comes down to that messaging around building your community. So yeah, we really want to do more of that. I think Emma Louise, who is our head of brand, should really be answering this question because she really took on most of the burden. And yeah, she did an amazing job, like from mocking it up in 3D to, being able to source, let's say, shelves that were affordable because we were only going to be using it for that 1 week, and how to elevate something that was affordable. And she did a great job. So like logistically, actually, it was very good planning from her end where, we could have spent thousands on merchandising the store and making it look very pretty. But there were like just quick fixes that she did. Like, for instance, sticking some lights under some shelves. It gave the space a lot more elevation. And then just being really savvy with how we merchandise or what we're merchandising. Like sets, for instance, during peak, it made a lot of sense, and people preferred to buy the box sets rather than individual products. So that helped us logistically as well. And yeah, I think, if we were to do it again, yeah, we'll definitely take a page from that pop-up experience in terms of there are like those small wins that you can do without spending a huge amount of money. I do, because I think the future of consumer brands is being omnichannel. I think there are some brands who thrive being digital only, but I think more and more I feel like the consumer wants to see you, when they go into let's say a pharmacy like Boots or Superdrug, being able to have that brand awareness, but then also the flexibility to be able to purchase it anywhere. So eventually we'd love to be a brand where we are agnostic where the consumer purchases our product, but they get different experiences. So for instance, if you are that consumer who literally wants something really quick and without any fuss, you get us on Amazon or you get us, somewhere like a Boots in store. But if you are looking for something experiential, you would find us on our website because we have loyalty. We give you perks. And then if you want that further level of that community feel, hopefully one day we are able to have our own permanent store so that you are further served, So it's like, I'd love to be able to be omnipresent for the consumer so that they can, experience the brand on many different levels. Yeah, I think because we're a privately owned company and we're not like funded by VCs or PE, so our dollar only stretches that far. So I think in terms of us being really, I think we just need to be a bit savvy and careful on how we spend our marketing dollars. I think number one, the steps to get there is brand awareness. So there's no point popping up everywhere if nobody really knows about you or is interested really. So I think for us, our strategy is always to, have that level of awareness. Like for instance, if we're going viral on TikTok for a certain product, then it makes sense for that product to appear elsewhere, which we've, we're starting to see a lot more of. But number two, it's also, I suppose, having awareness of who your customer is. So there's no point of being in, I don't know, for us, let's say a luxury department store, because actually our consumer is, more budget friendly, and they might not shop there, or, are willing to spend a certain amount, or is a certain age range. So I guess those are a couple of things that we're thinking about. Yeah, and like I mentioned, budget constrained, and also having the right amount, right partners. So, for instance, within retail, we just want to make sure we don't spread ourselves too thinly, because we don't want to erode our margins as well. So like I mentioned, we're looking to release another fragrance, and that's why we think not another pop-up makes a lot of sense, because it's sensorial. You need to experience it, and it, be piping out notes of a fragrance on a web page is so different from experiencing it real life. So we're looking to pop up in Covent Garden, and being able to perhaps not have a full week's experience, but just perhaps half a day, whereby we create the hype, get our community to come and visit us, experience the new fragrance, and take something away. And because it's also close to Valentine's Day, for us to, get them to take something away. And we found from the pop-up that there are those peak periods. So the super fans would be lining up first thing in the morning, and there would be like this time whereby it's, we might not get as much footfall because people are working, or, they're just not in the vicinity, or they're having lunch somewhere. And then the evenings are really popular too. So to be honest, do you need the full day? Probably not. First of all, a brick and mortar store is extremely expensive. You obviously have to pay for the rent, business rates, etc. Staffing is really expensive, especially somewhere central like London. Whereas a pop-up allows you to test the waters in terms of, first of all, the area that you're looking to invest in, what the footfall looks like, and getting more data around, who the consumer base could be there. But then also testing products and merchandising products that you think may resonate, but a pop-up will tell you very quickly, what may do well or not. So, again, it comes back to that operation piece. You don't want to be investing or purchasing stock if that product might not do so well in a physical retail experience, which I think is really helpful. And a pop-up also informs you if, you have a community there. We found that the average order value is higher in a pop-up, because, again, like you said, very impulse buy, and the SKUs that were moving were SKUs that we put by the tail. So you might be checking out for one product, but you add on. So very impulse driven. I think it's important to be multi-channel because I guess, based on our experience, you want to make sure there's less hurdles for the consumer to experience your brand or purchase your product. So I think a brand should be agnostic on where the customer purchases their goods, because it's, people are time constrained, and being able to, be somewhere physical to experience the brand, or being able to see the product in real life is really helpful for that consumer to then go back home, see, let's say the color red, be reminded that, oh, I wanted to check out the beauty crop, and then, purchase it online, for instance. So, it's another way of being able to market the brand if you are, in a physical retail store, because it's another billboard, I would say. But ultimately, we want to make sure that we are, we're being able to touch the customer in many different pinpoints. And yeah, so I think being multi-channel, whether it's online at a marketplace, online on the website, or in store with a retailer or pop up, that's really key. I think we will see more fruits of that labor from being in Boots because, again, it's that brand awareness piece. So like you will be able to find like better deals on our website, but we find that the Boots customer is still purchasing our products at full price there because they might have seen us on social media or on our website, but they choose to purchase at Boots because, it's so convenient. It's literally in front of them. They can take the product home. But yeah, I think we will see more fruits of that labor. I think for growth, it is a necessity because as you saturate one channel, there is a glass ceiling. Perhaps you've hit, your maximum conversion rate. And I do think it is a necessity to make sure that you also compete with your competitors who are appearing elsewhere. So I think being multi-channel, unfortunately, is becoming a necessity. But it depends on which stage of growth you're in. If you are still at a real startup level, then I would say, double down and do what you're good at and make sure that the consumer knows, you're available there, because it's all well and good to be able to be multi-channel, but if you don't excel in one channel and spread yourself too thinly, then that doesn't help the brand either. Being able to afford the right headcount, being able to onboard the right agency, or being able to afford, let's say, like retailers require payment terms whereby you may be out of pocket for your working capital. So there's just a few things to consider there. As a founder, most of my job is hiring the right people, and also being in London, that means being able to afford a warehouse space and hire warehouse personnel is really expensive. So being able to outsource that portion to J&J really helps us just not consider the issues around that. For instance, the hiring the right people, ensuring that we have sufficient headcount for peak, and because we're a very seasonal consumer brand, we want to make sure that we're not spending most of our time considering headcount spend.